Hey everyone, Pierre here, founder of GTM Partner. Just recording this quick video to walk you through a workflow that I thought was just too good to not share with you guys. So, long story short, we have a client that is trying to automate a lot of their research at scale. So, they have a few guys that are doing research for their company, looking for relevant news articles every morning, and that is costing them a lot in salaries, right? And so, what we're able to do here with Clay is automate a lot of this research. Now, if you look back, I've been making clay videos since early 2023. And so there's, a reason we're still using them. If you haven't jumped on that train yet, then you may be missing out, right? So without further ado, let's jump right in. Maybe this video will convince you that Clay really is onto something when it comes to everything go-to-market intelligence and just going to market faster and smarter. They talk a lot about GTM alpha, which is basically finding that edge, right? That competitive edge and using it before somebody else does, because at some point that edge disappears or gets saturated, right? So at some point we were able to, reach out to companies saying, "Hey, notice you're hiring for this job," and that was a pretty good trigger. But now that's been saturated. It's been overly used, and so that's no longer working in outreach, right? So what the video I'm about to share with you guys, the workflow I'm about to walk through, is a way for any company to get that edge if set up properly. And it's also a way for a company to give its sales and marketing team an extra layer of intelligence and maybe, not spend so much money on salaries because they're able to automate a lot of this research on their own, right? So let me go ahead and walk you through the workflow that I built for this company over here. So essentially, they want to find out when a company is increasing its number of locations, like physical locations, right? So imagine you're McDonald's and you open up a new franchise. They want to know about this, and so what we're doing here is using Clay's signal function, which is always going to be listening for listening on the internet for news or articles that are relevant for this company. So in this case, we can see the topics that we're tracking: business expansion, sustainability initiatives, sourcing and procurement, investment. There's a ton of signals that we could be listening to out of the box from Clay, and I recommend just like looking through them. And essentially, you are tracking. So maybe you have a list of, say, 1,000 enterprise tier one accounts that, these are your dream clients. You really want to go after them. Now you're now able to listen to what it is that they're doing very closely, right? So you can keep a pulse on them fairly easily with an automation like this, and be the first one to reach out to them, giving you that competitive edge, right? Because you're finding out about something before anybody else does and reaching out to them in real time. So what are we doing? We're bringing these articles into a Clay table, right? And then we're analyzing these articles. So there is a lot of noise when you're doing these plays. And so you want to make sure to have a good way to filter through the noise using an LLM like Claude to basically analyze these articles at scale and make sure that they're relevant. So we're just having a checkbox here to tell us that they're relevant or not. And then we're getting a little briefing as to why it's relevant. So in this case, we can see that this article discusses retail expansion, featuring large retail chains. So this is definitely relevant for my client, and they would like to know about this. And so what happens then is a Slack message gets sent to a channel dedicated to a specific territory. So, if you're a relatively, medium to large company, you've got account executives that have assigned territories to them. And so imagine having a Slack channel for each territory where you have automated like notifications about updates when it comes to this account executive's territory, basically, and target accounts, right? So they're able to get that intelligence, say every morning they wake up and they have relevant news articles basically handed to them on a silver platter that they can use to then do outreach, right? So let me show you an example of what that looks like in Slack. If I run these rows over here and I go into Slack, I can see these coming in real time, right? So Barnes and Noble, relevant news article, and here's the briefing as to why this is a relevant article. And so you may be thinking, great, Pierre, we have the companies that we have information about these companies that is relevant for us. And now we want to go and find people automatically, right? So we have the companies, we have the news article that is relevant, but my account executive now needs contact information. It needs to be validated contact information. We want their email, their phone number, and we want this to happen dynamically, right? So the signals function finds out information that is relevant for your business, brings it into this clay table, it filters out the noise to make sure that it's relevant. And before it sends that Slack message, we want to do something that is going and finding people at that company that we know may care about our solution because we're actively checking for these signals. And so we're using Clay's find people function here off the bat, right? So if I go into edit column over here, we can go to the source and we can see that we are looking for certain keywords, job titles, etc., in this new table, which is the find people table. So one is the company table that is listening to these signals. Once we filter out and we determine that these signals are relevant, then we are finding the people. And this can happen dynamically as well, right? So in this people table, we're running a work email waterfall, which basically allows you to collect data from different data providers to find a relevant email. So rather than just relying on one data provider, the beauty with Clay is that you can leverage different data providers essentially to have more coverage, right? So with one data provider, you might find a CEO's email 5 out of 10 times, but when you're using every data provider, then you're going to find it 9 or 10 out of 10 times, right? So we're using a work email waterfall to find that validated email. And we're doing the same thing for mobiles, right? Mobile phone numbers, because we are having our account executives call these people in their territory. And so we are using a phone number waterfall as well to make sure that we're finding valid phone number information. Then we're pushing this data into a Google spreadsheet in real time. So if I were to run these cells and then go into the spreadsheet, you'll be able to see this data getting added in real time. So here it is. So now this data is getting pushed, and what we have here is a point of contact list for your account executive that they are actually, if I go to Slack over here, I can see the relevant ICP list is also being pushed out from the beginning, from the company list table. So yeah, just to zoom out and recap a little bit, and data is still getting pushed in, love it. You now have an engine that is looking out for, say you have a list of 1,000 enterprise accounts that is analyzing these 1,000 enterprise accounts at all times to make sure that when a news article comes out that is relevant for your business, it's able to analyze that data to make sure it's relevant, find contacts at that company that are relevant for your solution, and then provide that mobile and email data to your account executives. And if we wanted to take a step further, we could just push this into a instantly or smart lead email campaign or a LinkedIn campaign to be reaching out to these people via email in real time, giving you that competitive edge, that first mover's advantage, so that you are getting your foot in the door and being relevant. So again, this is where I think go-to-market is going. And you're either starting to implement these things in your company or you're falling behind. If I can help you with any of that, I'll be on the other side. Feel free to shoot me a message. Thanks, guys. Talk soon. Bye.